Hello everyone and welcome to the MERN stack. In this video we'll be building a logo turtle where we type the basic commands like fd10, rt90. So where we have a triangular object which is called the turtle, which can draw basic shapes and lines. So the simplified version we'll be building using custom JavaScript. We won't be using any kind of library. But one thing you have to remember, you should know at least the basics of using canvas. Okay, we'll be using canvas transforms like rotate and translate. So let's get started, and how it works I'll explain along the way as we code. So create a new folder on your desktop and name it logo turtle or whatever you like it. Alright, then open your favorite code editor. I recommend using VS Code because it has a lot of good features and shortcuts, right? So drag the folder to your editor and then open the project folder. Alright, so this is our folder. Inside the folder we'll be just creating one single file, which is index.html. So index.html, and here we'll write HTML:5. If you are in VS Code, it'll give us the basic boilerplate code for the HTML syntax, right? So then here in title we'll name it logo turtle, and let me close up this sidebar. So now we can open this up in a live extension, right? Live reload extension for looking our output instead of reloading the browser all the time. So here I will just say h1 logo turtle and right click, open with live server. And this is an extension which you can install for VS Code. So here you can see h1, this one is the title, and let me also open up the console, which will be required for testing purpose to check what values we have. So let's write the basic HTML now, right? The structure. So first we will need a canvas. So canvas, I want to give a width of 500 around the half of the monitor screen, and height equals to HEIGST height. Okay, height equals to 400, and then I want to give it an ID, say canvas, so that we can select from JavaScript as well as style from CSS if necessary. So okay, this is our canvas, and then I want to build a form, and of course the canvas won't be visible if we save and try to see the output because we have not added any border. So let us simply add a small border in style, just a basic style. I leave the rest of the styling to you so that you design it however you like. So canvas border 1 pixel solid. So this should give us this border right here, which you can see. Alright, that should be pretty much enough. If you want it larger, it's your wish. Now let us make a form with an input and a buttons which you can submit, right, where we will be typing our commands. So what we'll do, we'll create a form. In form, here you have an inputs, right? In input type will be text. Here we will not have any kind of action. We will simply add an ID called cmd form, which is command form, and in input I will say it will be cmd input, and here we simply need a button to submit or run command. So now, as you know, if there is a button in the form, and whenever we click that button, it submits the form unless it's of the type button, right? If there's an attribute called type equals to button, then it will not submit the form. Okay, but if there is just a button, then by default it's a submit button. So whenever we type on the form and click run, this will run the form and reload the form, of course. And also if we type something and hit enter, in that scenario also it will submit the form. So we want to prevent the form from reloading the page, right? So let us add event listeners. So I think we are pretty much done with the HTML. We have to add, we have to make this a little bit larger. So let us make it larger by adding a basic styling. Say input and button. We want to make the font size. I use EM, okay, for making it more responsive and dynamic depending on the base font size. So we should try to use EM or REM. Okay, so those are more dynamic, fluid kind of values like percentage. So alright, so here we have this. Also we need to add some margin to the form. It will look better. Margin 10 pixel 0. So okay, there is a margin now. Now we just need to add event listener. Let's start with the JavaScript part right now. HTML and CSS, all is done. If you want to add more styling, it's your wish. So say script. So in script, first we will select all the elements that we need, right? Like canvas, form, and input. These three things let us select first. So const canvas equals to document.query selector. I like query selector because with this you can use the CSS selector to select the type of elements. Like you can use dot for classes, so it makes more sense to me. Like it's just like jQuery if you have used it. So it's gonna be canvas. Then after canvas we have to select two more elements. The second one is cmd form. cmd-form, and of course in variable name you have to use camel case, which is the convention, and hyphens are not allowed. And then you have cmd inputs, and here instead of cmd form it will be cmd input. So here we have selected all the references that will be required. So now let us also define a context, ctx. So this context object is used to draw things on the canvas, like drawing lines, shapes, images, kind of. So we can say canvas.getContext. Once you select the canvas, I can get the context. And here you have to pass the 2-dimension, right? So it's like for drawing 2D shapes on the canvas. So now for this form, we have to add an event listener. Add event listener, submit. So on submitting, we will run a function called run command. Run command. So let us define the function run command. Sorry, here's. And here we will by default get an event object, which is e. So here we will try to prevent default, e.prevent default, right? So let us console log something that you submitted the command. So here we will type the command, says cmd, and here we'll define the variable cmd, the command equals to, we'll get the command from the input of the form. So this form input right here, whenever it's submitted, we have to read the value using JavaScript. So how it's done, just get the input reference element and then say dot value. So also after submitting, we want to clear the input so that for the next command, the user don't have to just remove with backspace. So it's more annoying. So that's why we try to remove. So value equals to empty string. So now if we reload the page, we don't have to reload actually since I'm using live server. So fd100, you submitted the command fd100. So if I type something else and submit, you submitted the command, this thing. So alright, so with this done, we have to now work with the parsing of commands. We need to parse the command. If it is fd100, we want to separate, we want to store the value in an array such that the direction is forward, the value is 100, and it should also tell us whether the command is valid or not. So if I say fdx100, so this is not a valid command, right? So for this we have to write a function called Parsed Command, and let us go with it. Okay, so let's go back to our code. So here in our code we will define another function called function parse cmd, right? So here we'll receive a command to parse, and here let me just log out, console log. Command to parse is the command itself. You submitted the command, this is not required, so let me comment it out for now. So here, and let me instead call parse cmd command, and we can also store the parsed command here, parsed command, so that we can store in array later. So the command to parse is that we can say the parsed command is the parsed command is the parsed command. So logs help us to identify what's going on in our program, so which helps us to debug very easily. So it should be command, of course. So the command to parse and this. So let us try out. fd100 command is not defined. Of course, we have to pass the command which we are passing here, but it's cmd, it's not command. So that's one tiny error. So if we say fd100, you should see the parsed command is undefined, and the command to parse is fd100. Of course, it's undefined because we are not returning anything from the function. So we have to now split the command. As you know, in LogoTurtle, the commands are fd100, bk10, so like rt90. You can see the value comes in pairs. The first is the direction, whether it's forward or backward or right or left, and the next value is the distance or the amount. Alright, it's the numeric value which we want to use for drawing on the screen, right? So the first one is the direction, the second is the numeric value, and both of them are separated by a space. So we have to use the split function for that. So command.split. So we can split the function, and here we can say we can destructure the value, since it will return as an array of two elements. The first one is the direction, the second one is the value. So the first one is the direction, dir, the second one is the value. And now we have this value and direction, both of them, and now let us switch the direction. Okay, so in direction, if we put switch, so we can run cases like fd So FD means forward. If it is forward, we'll also define one more variable called result direction. Okay, we will come to know in a second why we are defining that. So if case is FD, result direction equals to FD. FD or forward. Let's give a different name. FD or forward. Okay, and value is itself that. Also, we need angle, by the way. Angle will be 0 by default. It will tell us by what amount we want to rotate. If it is left 10 or left 30, this kind of thing. So for forward, result direction is this. That's fine. In this way, we need to copy it 3 more times. Second is BK, backward. And the third is LT, which is left, not LOT, lot. LT is left. And then we have finally right, which is RT. Now we want to return some value, the parsed command. We want the parsed command to be in the form of an object. So we want to return, direction will be result direction. Result direction is the value that we set, custom set here, okay? And this is the user input value. User input should be FD, then result direction is forward. You can just think like it's 2 variables, all right? It's for a purpose actually, because by default result direction is empty as you know it. And if none of the cases run, you know that result direction will be empty, which means that the command is not valid. So we can use this value to check whether the command is valid or not. We'll also return the value, and then we'll return the angle. Now we will set the angle just in a second, but before that, let us look what the values are. So if we see here, FD 100, the parsed command is, as you can see, is returning an object, and this object is being logged right here in this line, just after this parse CMD statement. So the parse command, as you can see, the direction is empty because the command is not valid, of course. If I type FD 100, still is not valid. Why? It should have been valid because it's small case. But if it's type FD 100, it's valid. But it's saying the parse command is right. Let's see what's the case here. All right. FD, we are not breaking the statement. That's why it's running till the last. So we have to use break command here. So whenever you use break, it will not go beyond that condition. Now, it works only if we type capital. We want to work also for small caps, so we can do here to uppercase. So this will ensure that whatever the command is typed, it's always capital, right? So on doing that, the small FD should also work. FD 100, the parse command is forward 100, and if I say BK 10, the parse command is backward 10, right? And now, one thing if you observe, the value is inside a string. It should be numeric value because whenever we will use this value to draw things on the canvas like drawing lines, it expects a numeric value. It does not expect a string. So this will cause an error. So we have to typecast it to a number. So value equals, so we can simply use a function, number function. We want it to be an integer. We don't accept fractional values here. And now the next thing, with this we'll get value as number. If you check it, is number now in the console, as you can see. Now the angle is is another important thing. Okay, the angle can be angle will define in degrees, but it will be used by the computer in radians. What I mean, what it actually means is that we need angle in radians, but we know that forward means angle is 0. We don't have to set on forward. Okay, so that you can skip it because by default angle is 0. For forward, we don't have to rotate any direction. We don't have to rotate any direction at all. But by backward, we have to rotate by 180 degrees. If you know from basic math of a circle, 180 degree is the opposite direction from the starting point, right? It's just like the opposite side. So 180 degree is like half turn, half full turn, of course. What to say now? Now in left, we want left, say this is clockwise and this is anti-clockwise. So the left means we have to turn to this side, right? To the left side. To turn to the left side, it means that it's anti-clockwise. So it's negative. So for now, I'm putting negative 90. Left means negative 90. I'm putting that. So we have to actually use this value. But let us just see for a second what we get. And for right, I'm just putting 90 degrees. So here we are returning the angle. Now let us see what we get. FD 100. Value angle is 0 for forward, which is correct. Backward 10 angle is 180 degree, which is also correct. So these are fixed set of values we have to give. But if it is RT 90, it's fine. If I say RT10, it's also 90, angle is 90, and if LT, it's 80. Now let us return, instead of 90, let us return the value of the angle we want to rotate by, right? Because we want it to set custom value to rotate the turtle. We want to rotate 50 degree, then it will go towards a little bit like that. If we want to rotate 90 degree, it will go like a right angle, right? So let us see RT90, RT10, you should get 10. If I say LT25, it should get negative value of that. Now, for drawing on the canvas, we need value in radians and not in degrees. So these values you see right here, our human mind can understand in degrees easily, but radians, it doesn't make much sense. So we have to use function, we have to take the help of function to convert this degree value to radian, which is very simple. So we will just define a function called degree to radian, and here we'll get a parameter degree, we'll get a value. So this degree we have to convert to radian. For that, you have to multiply degree times math.pi. It's a value you can memorize, okay, if you have not done high school math, kind of. But that's just a simple line of function which you have to know that math, not math times pi, it will be math.pi, sorry. So this degree value has to be multiplied by the value of pi, okay, the value of pi, which is a constant, and divide by 180 degrees. So now this function we have to call in before returning the angle. So this angle, as we know, is in degrees. So degree to radian, we have to convert this to ANGLE angle. So now the values will be numeric, okay? Radian values are in numeric. So I say FD10, angle is 0, that's fine. Then RT90, angle is 1.57079 something, this value we don't care, but the value is in radians, which will help us to accurately draw on the canvas, since the functions of canvas that draw lines or rotate things, okay, they accept values only in radians. It's a pure mathematical value. So now with this, if we type some random command, we can see the direction is wrong. Now we have to do with the work of storing the commands in an array, so that we can use this array, because what we'll do, we want to save the value so that we will rerun the entire thing. Actually, whenever we draw something on the canvas, we'll erase everything out, then draw all the commands in the loop. If we type again a new command, we'll remove everything, we will clean up everything, the canvas is in clear rect function, and then we will redraw again. So I think I'm saying too much, but I'm trying to explain so that it makes sense to you. So now what we have to do, we have to store the commands. Let's do the work of storing the commands. So here I'll define a function, a variable globally called commands, so that it's accessible even in subsequent runs of the function. So const commands equals to this, and here we want to push the parsed command, sorry. This command which we are parsing right above, we want to push it only if the result direction is present, which means if it is valid. So parsed command dot dir, which is a property that we return from this function parsecmd. If only this is true, we'll have the parsed command. Now we can say the parsed commands are, we want to just log the array. So this commands array right here, if we just render it, you can see now fd10, the parsed commands are, as you can see, it's an array with this object. Now if I say bk10, you can see this. Now if I say rt80, 890, oh my gosh, this is a large value. So you can see all the commands are being stored, and now we can look through this array to draw the things. But before that, now we have to draw, to start the work of drawing and painting things on the canvas. So first we will draw a turtle, which is just a triangular object. It'll point downwards by default, okay? Then later we have to use canvas transforms, which may confuse you a little bit, but stick with me till that. So again, since we are breaking down the things into functions, it makes easier to make sense and understand. The code becomes modular when you break things into functions. So we'll define another function again, which will call it drawTurtle. So this drawTurtle function, it'll just draw a triangle on the center of the canvas. So before drawing shapes and lines, you have to always begin path, okay? This helps you to correctly draw the shape on the screen. Close path. You have to, of course, a little bit do research on Canvas. Mozilla Docs, it is a very nice article on Canvas. It's a very in-depth article, in fact. So if you read those Mozilla MDN docs for Canvas and drawing things, There are a lot of things you can do, amazing things with Canvas, so you can read there. So for this purpose, you have to just know these functions, begin path, close path, and after that you have to ctx.stroke, and here we can draw lines. So first we can move our pointer, the drawing pointer, to the 0, 0, which means x and y 0 means this center point, which is the top left of the canvas by default, and we want to draw a line to 100, 100, and then we want to call this function inside this. After drawing all the commands, we will draw the turtle inside run command. Now this draw turtle function will only run if this run command function is executed, and this is only executed, as you know, when the form is submitted. So what we want to do is we want to run command by default. So if we run the command, as you can see, the event object is not present. Since the event object is not present, we want to use if e to check. Okay, so whenever it's submitted by the form, then we will prevent the default. If it is run from some external source or from some other place, then we don't want to run this condition. Otherwise there will be an error throwing that e is undefined, trying to access a function, a method of an undefined thing. So this error will come. So okay, when we run command, this draw turtle should run. Now if you check our output, you can see that there is a line, there is a diagonal line drawn, and this is the 100, 100 position. So what we want to do, we want to shift the origin of the canvas to the center position. So this center right here. So every time we draw something, we want to always shift the center position of the canvas. So that's the thing. So now we have to use translate for that. So this right here, so we have to use ctx to translate just before drawing things. So parse cmd, so we can say ctx to translate 0, 0, not 0, 0, it's canvas.width divided by 2, then canvas.height divided by 2. Now this will move the origin position to the center. As you can see, now the drawing has started from center, right? So this is actually canvas translate, and as I have already said, in Mozilla Docs, there is a good documentation for canvas, and this transform and translate things are very much confusing, really. Like you can rotate things, but it's very much powerful, by the way. Without this, it's not possible at all to build the logo turtle. But with this, it becomes very easy just in a few lines of code. So this, we are translating it, right? Now we have to draw the triangle, right, which we forgot, which I forgot actually. So we just drew a line here. So what we have to do, I want to move the turtle to the -10, -10. Actually, I tried a couple of times, that's why I'll be able to do a little bit faster right here. So we move the origin slightly. Okay, think that this is the center point. Move the center point slightly to the -10 right here. Then we bring to the 0 of x. Say this is the 0. This is the 0. Okay, this is the center point. We move above slightly -10 and left slightly -10. So we have to bring down here. So y will be 10, but x will be in the 0 position. So line 2, we have to say x will be in the 0 position, but y will be 10. So with this, you should get a small line. As you can see this line here, this from left, you can see a small line being drawn here. Now from this, now our cursor is at this position. Now we have to again draw from this position, which is the 0 position of x, till this position, which will be the x of 10. But the y position will be -10. We have to move till that. If you think a little bit, then it will make more sense. So now you can see the turtle is automatically closed, but we did not draw that final line. Now how is it working? If you comment out the close path and begin path, you will see that we don't have the top line, so we have to draw manually. So we don't want that. We want to close the path automatically, so that will also help it. Plus it will help us prevent draws from some weird things happening on the canvas whenever you draw things. So that's why I always use begin path and close path whenever you're drawing lines. So we have done the stroke, and now we have the turtle pointing downwards. Okay, now we have to draw the actual lines, okay, which is not gonna be very terrible, but it's gonna be using some functions for transforming. So for that, we will define another function yet, which will call it function draw. So this will draw the commands on the canvas. So here we can log it, say draw command. So here we have to of course get the command to draw. So for this we'll take the parameter command, And now this draw function we have to run every time we type some command on the input. Okay, so we have to run this by saying for every command, actually the command which you have stored in this commands array, we have to run for each of the commands. So let command of commands, we will run the draw function command. Now if you check on the console, if I type fd100 draw command, as you can see, this is the draw command. Now if I say bk200, it should run 2 times this time, because the loop will be running 2 times because the array limit is 2. bk200, the parse commands are this, draw command 1, forward and backward. So we are passing everything like value and angle, everything that is required, we have it with us right now. Just the only thing we need to do is to draw it properly on the screen. Now most of the things are gonna be similar. So here also you have to remember one thing. We want to draw shapes and we want to draw lines on the screen if and only if the commands are forward or backward. Whenever the commands are left or right, we don't want to draw anything. We just want to rotate the turtle. Okay, we just want to rotate the pointer from where it will start drawing. So we have to say if command dot we want to actually destructure the values. So we have direction, then we have angle. Remember what we have returned from this function: direction, angle and value. So value is equals to command. Now if direction is equal to, so as you know, the resultant direction is forward, backward, left or right. So it has to be either forward or backward. If it is forward, or the direction equals to backward, if the direction is forward or backward, then we will draw the lines. So now what we will do, ctx.begin path, just like how we drew the turtle. Then I also want to close the path so that I don't forget it. Close path and ctx.stroke. Okay, so now inside this we will draw a line. Now the trick is to move to ctx.move to 0, 0. We have to move to origin. That's how it works. You may be confused. Okay, right now we have shifted the origin to the center of the canvas. So origin 0, 0, moving to 0, 0 means that we will be moving to the center of the canvas. Now after we draw a line from this place, suppose we draw a line down, okay, we draw a line down, then we have to shift the origin also to that point until which we have drawn. Then so that the next time whenever we move to 0, 0, it will move to that point, and from that point we will again start drawing. So that's how the trick works. So you have to move to 0, 0 and ctx.line to, this time we will simply draw a vertical line. Okay, we will not draw line, if it is left, we will not draw line to the left kind of thing or right kind of thing. What we will do, we will instead rotate the entire canvas and then we will draw a vertical line in the rotated canvas. So it may be confusing really, but that's how it works. So ctx.line to, so then we will move according to the value that's provided. Okay, then we will shift the canvas. We will say ctx.translate 0, value. So we will shift the origin, as I have already said. After drawing, we will move the origin also to that point. So that's how it's done, ctx.translate. And now let's try to draw. As you'll see, it will not work, there will be some bugs. So if I say fd100, you can see the parse commands are kind of something, but it's not drawing exactly, right? Well, let's see first of all whether it's running or not. So this draw command, we will only run inside this to see if it's running, fd100. So draw command is running, that's fine, but it's not drawing because we are translating every time. That's one reason. So we have to, every time whenever we run this run command function, this run command function right here was run in the beginning initially whenever we ran our JavaScript code. Once it was run, it was translated to the middle of the canvas, because of which we could draw the turtle properly. Now next time whenever we typed our command and tried to run it again, then it translated again from that position, from this position till the end position, because now that end or what, I don't know, but it's more than center. It's now the center position. Somewhere, if you can see my cursor here, somewhere around here, the center it is. So we have to save the previous position, okay, before running the commands all over again. We have to always start from the 0, 0. So this 0, 0 value right here, we have to store it. So for that, we have to say ctx.save, and before saving, we have to restore it. Now if you see and try to run some command, you can see that FD100 is working fine. So it's going forward, plus as you can also see the turtle is drawn from that origin. Now if I try to do RT90, these things will not work actually, because we have not rotated the canvas, which we'll do just in a second, which is just a one-line statement. But before that, we have to actually clear the canvas. Otherwise, you can see the old turtle still there remaining. Before clearing, let's just do one simple thing, which is to rotate. ctx.rotate. We have to just rotate the canvas by the given angle in radians. Okay. For forward is 0, for left or right, whatever value we have converted from degrees to radians will be used here. So if I say FD100, it has moved forward. If I say RT90, you can see the turtle being rotated, but it's a little bit confusing because the previous turtle is also present. And as you know, whenever we rotate left or right, the turtle doesn't move forward, it just rotates in its own position. But since the old triangle was already there, it was a little bit confusing. So we have to clear the rectangle next time. But let's see if the forward command is running. Okay, it's running RT90, so it rotated 90 degrees towards that side. Now let us clear it. As you can see, it's very messy. So simply in ctx.restore on ctx.save, you might have seen that I have not explained this part much. But what ctx.save and restore does, it saves the canvas transformation position. You have to read things in MDN docs to find out more about it. Okay, so ctx.clearRect, there is a function clearRect which cleans out the entire canvas, everything that you have drawn on it. So 0, 0 is the starting x and y position, and the length and width are the next arguments that you have to provide. So the length is canvas.width. We want to wipe out the entire width of the canvas, and then canvas.height. So now, if I say FD100, you can see the old turtle has been removed, and for every command that's stored in the array is being drawn on the canvas. Now if I say RT90, it rotates towards the right, because if it is down, the right is this side, right? Then we can say FD10. 10 is just a little bit left. Let's do FD50. Now we can say right, how much? How much do you want? You want 60? Right 60. Then it goes a little bit towards the 60. And FD 100. Then again. So we can draw shapes now, right? Like a logo turtle. We can also move backwards. So to show you that, let me rotate to the left this time. LT, left means it has to rotate this way. LT 70. Now BK 100. As you can see, it has moved backward, and the turtle is again pointing that-wards. FD10 is again fine. So I can again rotate LT 20. Again, it will go that right, and FD 100. So as you can see, we can draw shapes now, just like how the logo turtle is, isn't it? As you can see, the parse commands, this is an array which stores the list of commands that it has drawn. So this commands array was used in this loop, and this draw command draws the things depending on that. So what I wanted to do is just to study the code. I wanted to study the code, what we have written, and if you have any confusion, then you can type it down in the comments and I'll try to help it. So that's pretty much it, and we are done with the basic logo turtle. So if you like the video, please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel, Mernsec, and see you in the next video.